Today is the first day of the rest of your life, and your future planning started yesterday. You need simple, easy strategies to create maximum results. This is The Scotty Show. Time to get your ducks in a row with Scott Leonardi, owner and president of Complete Solutions, Inc. As a certified financial fiduciary with 25 years in the planning industry, Scott helps educate you on how you can make the best decisions for your family and your finances, and helps you get your ducks in a row for your incredible future. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to The Scotty Show with Scott Leonardi. Scott, how are you today?
I am phenomenal. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm still kind of chuckling at that last podcast you did. You had your daughter on as a guest, and she was, I'll tell you what, she's sassy, man, and that's a good thing.
She is sassy. So I told you before, I got 5 kids, and of course my oldest Michael works for me at 30, and I got my youngest is Melania at 10, and she's pretty sassy, and she knows it. She knows she's the little princess of the Leonardi family. So
yeah, I would encourage any listener that hasn't heard that. She was cute as a button and smart as a whip too. I mean, they played a little game and she made some cash, and that's all I'll say about that. But she definitely made some money, so right. That was good. That's right. All right, well, she's not on the podcast today. It's just you and I. What are we talking about?
Well, financial habits. Last podcast we were talking about finances and money and the thought processes of all that. But we're talking about bad financial habits that really people need to break to get out of debt. I mean, in today's society, debt is a big, nasty thing, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Big, nasty thing. And people get engulfed in debt, and it just is very hard for them to do anything. And that's kind of an important situation. And, I see it across the board. Again, my daughter was on last podcast. I keep trying to explain to her money and saving, and it was hard for her to kind of understand debt because she's not paying any bills now, right? But she does have to earn her money, and she does have to pay for stuff, so she does kind of understand that. But obviously, no gas and insurance and all those type of debts. But it's amazing to me as I talk through different folks, whether they're young, young 20 or 40, 50, even the 40, 50s. Sometimes they just don't understand some of the problems of financial habits they've developed that is really stopping them from getting out of debt. It's a very, very tough situation, and I see it all across age groups. Even people that come into me that want to talk to me about retiring, and of course, first thing I start taking a look at is, okay, what kind of income you got coming in, what kind of flow you got going out, and how much you owe, right? And so even older people that are getting close to retirement have a problem with debt. So I think understanding these elements are crucially important. Let's just have a little bit of perspective here. It was kind of crazy. I actually read this article by the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, and it was just talking about the size of debt. And it said with new extensions of credit, that helped actually drive the debt to over $15 trillion by the end of the third quarter in 2021. $15 trillion. And let me repeat that one more time. 15 trillion. I mean, so we're talking some massive, massive numbers here. And again, that's like 286 billion total household debt. Mortgage balances were a pretty good chunk of that. It rose by 230 billion same quarter. Auto loans, 28 billion. Student loans, 14 billion. And credit card debt actually increased in the third quarter of 2021. It increased by $17 billion. And that was after an additional increase of about the same size in the second quarter of 2021. So again, we're talking about these numbers. These are massive credit card debt issues. So it's kind of important to understand. And so we have to think through this process. Where is all this coming from? And it's not just everybody else. I mean, before we start criticizing everybody else, we need to be looking at our own credit card balances, our own savings accounts, our own spending habits, right? I mean, we have to take a look at that stuff. Yeah, it's totally crazy, right? So we have to take a look at where we're at. I mean, $157 billion of credit card debt since 2019 has been accumulated by the average American. $157 billion. I mean, that's a mess. You take a look at the average household. $5,315 is the average credit card debt in a household in 2020.
Sorry, what was that again?
$5,315 is the average household debt.
Just credit cards.
Again, that was based on an Experian report. So I mean, it should be a pretty credible report. And that was in 2020. Of course, these reports are always behind, but I mean that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
So just think about that. I mean, I'm not going to ask you how much credit card debt you have because you're crazy smart, you're crazy intelligent. You probably don't owe anybody anything, and you're sitting on piles of gold, is what Eric's probably doing, right?
Yeah.
But just think about But just think about this. How easy is it to get $5,000 in credit card debt?
Very quick. Yeah. People can do that very quickly.
Very quick. They're putting all their grocery bills on their clothes, bam, bam. A Christmas. I mean, people think, well, I'll just put this stuff on credit for Christmas. I want to buy people stuff, and they just think, well, I'll pay it off next month. I'll pay it off the first quarter of the year. Well, think through the process here. Credit card debt. The biggest problem with credit card debt is interest, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the credit card companies charge like 1 or 2% interest, right?
Oh, very low like that. Yeah, I've seen many
credit card companies
like
have no money, so they don't charge no money. The average, I kind of pulled up what the average credit card rate is. It's 18.9%.
Gee, Christmas.
That's the average credit card rate. Now, I've seen them out there 24.99, 26.99, and of course, the other ones that are smaller are the 0% interest for the first 12 months. Those are all marketing ploys to get you to move that money to them, right?
Yeah.
But just think of 18.9. You had $5,000 in credit card debt over Christmas, or you just put a bunch of stuff on there, right? How long would it take you to pay that off? Well, the first question is how much are you paying monthly, right? Well, what do you think the average person on their credit card bill, what does the average person pay on their credit card bill?
The minimum.
The minimum. And minimum companies, they want to charge you the absolute minimum to pay, right? They don't want you to pay big amounts, right? Why? Oh, they're making boatloads of money on all that interest, so they don't want you to pay those things off at all, right? So you take a look at the average. The minimum payment on a credit card is 1 to 3%. That's what the average minimum payment is, right? So $5,000 credit card balance, almost 18.9, 19% interest rate, with a 3% minimum payment. How long would that take you to pay that off if you just paid that minimum balance? Take a guess. How long?
Yeah, I couldn't even guess with that. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, over 17 years.
Jeez, yeah.
Over 17 years. I mean, so it's crazy. So people tend to pay the minimum. And, of course, what happens is it takes longer than that, theoretically, right? Because why? People are paying the minimum.
And they're spending
and then
more.
as soon as it gets down, what happens?
Yeah.
I need that new pair of Nikes, right? And so the balance starts getting down, and then guess what? They start charging more. So we develop this habitual lifetime relationship with credit card debt.
Yeah.
Now, we all have it, and we all have credit cards to use for a certain sickness, but the key is getting it under control, and that's just kind of the key. So I was going through this article that I thought was pretty awesome, and I'm going to put it on our website so people can get access to our website and get a copy of this and take a look at this thing because it's pretty important stuff. You can get it by going to our website, duckduckplan.com, and there's a podcast tab, and you can click on there and get some additional information. Or drop us an email. We'll be happy to send you the link for this report, but it's pretty important to kind of go over. So you need to take a look at this, and if you got all your ducks in a row, who can you share this with?
Yeah, absolutely.
How about your friends that don't have their ducks in a row? How about your children? How about your grandchildren, right? So if you're young, you need this. If you're old, you need it, or you need to share it with somebody. So let's talk about some of those things. Let's talk about 10 things you should be thinking about.
Okay.
What causes problems? What stops you from getting your credit card debt paid off? So the first thing on the list is impulse buying. Impulse buying. Now, who does impulse buying?
My wife. I didn't say that out loud, did I?
She's going to listen to that. Everybody does. It's crazy,
we all
right?
do, yeah. She'd say me, yes, for sure.
Any store you go through, the aisles that you go through to get to the register, the cash register, they're loaded with junk, right? That's for the impulse buyers. You get up there and you think, oh my goodness gracious, I need that, oh I need that, and I need that. So next thing you know, you've added on 3, 4, 5 things that you don't really need. You just impulse, you added it, say, well, it'll be nice to have, and you add it on your bill. So we got to get impulse buying under control. Well, here's the problem with impulse buying. We tend to rationalize. And of course, do you know what rationalize means?
No.
To rationalize means to tell rational lies. We tell ourselves rationalize all the time. Well, you know what? I just kind of needed that. I needed that new TV. I needed that expensive bag for those women out there who buy handbags or men. I guess a man could carry a man bag. I guess, right? Or gadgets or new phones or whatever. We rationalize. Well, I need this. Well, it's the new technology. Well, I can't live without this, and so we rationalize. So where does that purchase tend to end up? Well, it tends to end up on our credit cards, right? Because usually rational impulse purchases, you see that $400, $500, $600 thing, and you don't tend to have that cash in your pocket, right? So it might end up on a debit card, which would be great coming right out of your bank account. But where does it end up on most of the time?
Going to a credit card.
Going to right to your credit card, And the problem is you kind of lose track of your budget when you're doing impulse buying. And we're going to talk about a budgeting in just a minute here. But again, you just kind of lose track of that because the impulse buying just happens and boom, here you go. So the whole focus on impulse buying is you have to develop a plan that helps you cope with that irritating itch to spend without thinking. You got to kind of think about that. And if you're thinking about that, you're still going to make some mistakes. But if you start to think about that and implement that in your focus in your life, hopefully you'll start reducing that impulse buying, right? So it's kind of important. So here, how about number 2? How about using credit cards for points? Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
I hear people tell me all the time, well, I'm going to put that on my credit card because guess what? I get points. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. Nothing wrong with some points, but here's the problem. Not all credit cards that give points are evil, right? But kind of some of them are, right? Some of them are. What's the reason why credit card companies give you those points? Out of the wonderful generosity, the wonderful generosity of their heart? No, the whole concept behind the reward points is to encourage you to spend more, right? So you got to be very cautious. Now, again, if you're putting stuff on a rewards card, getting some points, and paying stuff off every single month, you're not carrying balances. It's not causing you excess interest and debt and late fees and stuff like that. Well, okay, I get that. But a lot of people don't do that. They don't pay it up. They just kind of build it up and they tell themselves yeah, but you know what? I got some points, baby. I got some points, right? I read this survey. It was a 2021 survey by MIT Sloan School of Management. And it was talking about the rationalization of what goes through your brain, with different purchases, right? And so they actually did some technology and did some imaging, and they compared like a brain reaction, your brain reaction to a cash purchase versus a credit card purchase. Isn't that kind of weird? I mean, the people already kind of knew that people generally spend more with their credit card anyways because they just plunk it on the credit card. It's easy to pull out that thing and do that, right? But this study actually observed that overspending on credit cards was a lot easier for people to do for using credit cards. So it actually kind of had activated what they called reward centers in their brains. Now again, I'm not saying I believe in all this stuff or I'm a doctor or whatever, but I thought it was kind of interesting. It kind of reacts the reward center in your brain, again helping you rationalize, right? So it helps you drive the craving to spend. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, how complex the brain is to begin with. We do a lot of things and we can't really explain why we do some things, and it's because kind of how our brain works, right? Sometimes we just buy it, we buy something to just make us happy. Well, that's kind of a problem, right? So we've got to start getting that under control and starting to think through that process. It's kind of the old adage, if you the more you buy, the more you save, right? You ever heard of that, right?
Yes.
And again, my wife, my lovely, lovely wife, Melissa, she calls this concept spaving. And the first time spaving. And the first time she told me spaving, I'm like, what in the heck is spaving? She goes, well, spending to save. She said, if I spend that extra money, I'm going to save the extra $1. I'm like, what are you talking about, spaving? Spending to save, right? And the worst habitual, program with this is a department store, and I'm not going to say the department store. It starts with a K and then ends with a roll, right? But they give you bucks and they give you cash back and they give you cash to spend. So you start figuring out all these discounts and it's kind of crazy what you can do, right? Well, if you're under control with that, you can really save some money and get cash back and all that kind of wonderful stuff. Now again, I'm going to throw this out there. My wife is not a spendthrift. She's incredibly awesome at saving, and she's very disciplined with money, more disciplined with money than I am. In fact, she'll tell me before she buys something, it's like $42. You think I ought to spend $42 on that? I'm like, baby, you want it? Well, yeah. Well, spend the money. You don't have to ask me about spending. She never asked me for money, but I'm saying my point is, she's very good on money, so I want to throw that out there. But I always thought it was kind of a spending to save, spaving. But if you rationalize that and you say, hey, look at the money I saved, what's going to happen to that credit card debt?
Yeah.
It's going to continue to get higher and higher and higher. And the problem with some of this stuff is people develop lifetime lifetime habits of this stuff. So they get under that concept of debt and they can't just get out. That's the key. They just can't get out. So again, number two, very important, using credit cards for the points. Again, you got to do it properly. You got to be sure if you are doing that, you pay that stuff off. But the other thing too is a lot of these credit card companies have very tough restrictions on how you can use the points. Mm-hmm. You can use the points on the second Tuesday of the week in December when it's 70 degrees.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So again, it might not be all it's cracked up to be. Be sure you're kind of doing that smart, right? Kind of important stuff. Spaving, spending to save, right? So how about this number one? Or number three, we always hear this. How about keeping up with the Joneses?
Oh, yeah.
So many times we often think to ourselves, hey, our buddy has this, my neighbor has this, I need one of those. And, we've all been down that concept, right, of being able to keep up with the Joneses. And sometimes it's smaller events that you don't really think. So you don't think you're going out and buying a brand new BMW because your neighbor did. But, that $5,000 new lawnmower that he bought, well, I need one of those too. So even on those smaller purchases, not that $5,000 is a small purchase, but my point is you can easily start using that keeping up with the Joneses to add up that additional credit card debt.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting concept to kind of think through and say, hey, listen, do I need to do that? I mean, some people just think to themselves, there's these things called wealth triggers or wealth signals. All of a sudden people purchase stuff to keep up with the Joneses, and it's called conspicuous consumption. I read that the other day, conspicuous consumption. Isn't that kind of neat? I almost sound like this is Dr. Scott on the Scotty Show. Conspicuous consumption. It's a disease you have. You need a pill for that, right? But anytime you purchase something that otherwise you wouldn't purchase, but you purchase it to actually impress somebody or to make yourself look more successful. Conspicuous consumption. Ask your friends and family next time on trivia night what conspicuous consumption is. But sometimes we do that. I mean, sometimes we buy something that makes us feel more successful and that kind of stuff. But the problem is that gets out of hand.
Yeah.
And when that gets out of hand, where does that stuff end up on? Your credit card.
Absolutely.
Or it starts eating up that savings account that you may or may not have. So that's kind of some pretty important stuff to be thinking about, right? I mean, we should be thinking about saving for our retirement and focusing on the stuff that people can't see, right? It's easy to create envy and kind of want to think to yourself, well, you want to prove your worth, because you drive a nice car. Well, it doesn't prove you have better worth, right? Because what people see doesn't necessarily mean you're a better person, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, paying off your debt, saving for retirement, improving your credit score. I mean, Lord have mercy, people need to aggressively focus on improving their credit score. Right? I mean, sometimes people don't really realize their credit score. Some people don't even monitor it, which I think is kind of ludicrous. You got to monitor it, especially when you have poor credit. You got to monitor it so you can see how you can fix that, right? And there's tons of ways. There's no excuse today in today's society with all the technology not to be able to see what your credit score is and monitor that. It's just so important. And reducing, your debt and helping your credit score is important. I mean, sometimes people don't think about this. They think, well, my credit's poor, and there's nothing I can do about it. So what? I don't need a loan. Who cares? Well, what other problems financial problems are you affected by with poor credit?
Oh, there's quite a few.
Quite a few. I mean, a perfect example. I mean, car insurance. You buy car insurance. One of the things they do is they run your credit score, and you think, what do you mean they run my credit score? Well, again, part of the risk is, do you pay your bills, right? Mm-hmm. So with poor credit or lower credit, you will pay more money in your auto insurance.
And homeowners insurance.
Yeah, and homeowners insurance. And again, that equates to sometimes, 15, 18, 20, 25% more, whatever the number is. And that more is more for years, right? Again, people just don't kind of realize that. That extra dollar, I mean, if it's extra 10%, 15% on your auto insurance, 5, 6, 7 years, add that stuff up. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the incredible stuff. It's those account balances that people can't see that should create your worth, right? Building up that 401k, saving for retirement. Man, that's the symbol for success. But, again, people aren't seeing that, So kind of important to kind of think through keeping up with the Joneses, tough stuff. Okay, so let's talk about number 4. I mean, this is pretty good information, isn't it, Derek? Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I've noticed, and this is documented, is that these stores, a lot of them have installed these, the self-checkout and all that. When you run your card, whether it's a debit card, credit card, whatever it is, it plays certain notes that they've tuned just like they tune casino slot machines to play certain notes that are more appealing to people. So it's a pleasant experience spending your money. It's another way they get you psychology-wise. It's just
a lot
crazy.
Of psychological aspects to this. They want your money.
Absolutely.
You need to save your money. They want your money. You're absolutely right. And that actually leads me right into number 4. Shopping to boost your mood.
Oh, man.
I mean, Lord, there's so many people that think about this stuff. Every listening person out there in the listening audience right now, probably one of you could probably raise your hand. Have you just bought something just to feel good? I mean, it happens, right? But some people have a serious problem with that. They every time they get depressed, every time they get in a funky mood, they want to go out there and spend money so they can feel better. And that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem because again, that whole process of repetitive compulsiveness to buy, it can create some pretty harmful emotional and social financial consequences in your life. So you just got to kind of put the brakes on and think to yourself, you just can't do that.
I can't believe you brought this up because this is something I noticed in myself in just the last probably year and a half. I've never had that issue, Scott. I'm sorry, but Amazon makes it way too easy. So we went through a period where we had to order some things online. There was some things for the house because we're redoing a lot of the house. There's just been some things that we needed to order, tools and other parts. I was helping my daughter with her car, so there were constantly boxes on my porch, and it was cool. Who doesn't like opening a package?
Oh my God, it's Christmas every day.
I've never had that feeling. I've never, shopped to elevate my mood. But when those packages stopped coming, I missed it. It was just the weirdest feeling. I was like, man, there's no packages today. I was kind of disappointed. Yeah. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm addicted to shopping online right now. I
exactly
totally stop doing it. Oh,
I used to make fun of my aunt. What was that show, QVC or something? Network. I used to make fun because she was on there for like hours and hours and hours, and she'd buy crap all the time. I'm like, who does that? Yeah. I'm like, well, guess what? Millions of people. That's
Absolutely.
What the QVC network or whatever. They made boatloads of money. It's crazy. Yep. But you're right. In today's society, it's a whole different deal. Now you can say, I'd like to have one of those, and you just click on Amazon. Boom, boom, boom. You put the title in, and then 15 items pop up. You choose one. You hit your credit card, and you don't have everything saved. You just boom, 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 and then you see that we'll deliver it to you tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow?
Exactly.
Oh, I gotta buy this just to see if it comes tomorrow, right?
That's right.
And it's ludicrously just crazy. Matter of fact, one time we actually ordered something Sunday morning on Amazon, and would you believe it? It was delivered to my house by 7:00 Sunday night that day.
Yeah, Lord help me when drones start delivering packages to my house because I just want to watch them fly in.
Yeah, how is that possible? I mean, it's ludicrous. Yeah. And of course, we think through all the stuff we just kind of experienced through, and we're still kind of experiencing the whole COVID situation. But and when everything's closed down, I mean, people need interaction. They need something else to do. Getting on, spend. I mean, that just occurs. So, and again, I'm just as guilty. So again, the whole thought, the whole thought process on shopping because of your mood, you got to kind of get a handle of that because it can get crazy. I mean, there's folks who really have a serious problem, like a shopping addiction. I mean, they need to seek professional help. And I'm not saying you need to seek professional help, but we'll talk about this on other podcasts to see.
Let's talk off air on this, please.
I need to refer you to somebody else. I just might need to do that, right?
I'll be on the Scotty couch. That's what I'll be.
You'll be on the Scotty couch, right? So again, here's a focus. You got to be able to, kind of kick the habit of emotional spending.
Yeah.
You got to think to yourself, and one of the great ways to do that is create a waiting period for yourself. And and again, this is just a discipline you have to develop. So you think to yourself, you know what, I want to buy something, I want to look at this, and I'm looking at new golf clubs or whatever it happens to be, and you make decisions. Hey, listen, I'm gonna wait a week. I'm gonna wait 7 days. I'm gonna wait 5 days. I'm gonna wait whatever the period is before I decide to buy. I'll look at it now, but I'm gonna wait 5 days, 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it is, before I purchase. I'm gonna make that rule for myself. You'll be amazed how you think through that process, and now it kind of helps curb that shopping to boost your mood.
Yeah.
Again, pretty tough stuff, and people deal with it on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
So we're going to number 5, and this podcast has been a little bit longer podcast, as you know. I know we're kind of getting close to end of time here, and I think let's divide this podcast into another podcast. Because
that's great.
Some great information, and I think I got some other awesome stuff to share with you, and I want to share with you. But let's talk about number 5, and that's spending on convenience. And it kind of leads into the emotional process, right? So overspending just for the sake of convenience is a massive trap, right?
Yeah.
It's incredibly hard to get out of debt when you start thinking to yourself, well, I'll just get that takeout meal. I need that Coke. I'll just buy my lunch. I'll just go to the restaurant. I'll give me a cheeseburger or whatever, right? And you think about just takeout meals. I mean, people spend absurd amounts of money, eating out. And I love to eat out too, but my point is, what is it doing to your health, and what is it doing for your pocketbook? I mean, eating meals at home, something you could prepare, is a fraction of the cost of what you eat when you eat out, right?
Yep.
Without what they used to call it, brown bagging it, kind of important, right? And even it's not even the brown bagging. Again, we start to rationalize, right, and we start to get into these habits. So that Starbucks coffee. Right, I mean, I got a good buddy of mine that he's crazy about Starbucks coffee. He'll buy a Starbucks coffee every single morning on his way to work. And I'm like, think of all the calories and the sugar and all this stuff, but because he doesn't get the regular coffee, he gets the sexy stuff.
There you go.
I'll take the caramel macchiato, please.
Macchiato, baby. Yes.
Double half calf with extra cream. Yeah, with a hot shot.
Quad shot.
Quad shots. I'm like, really? And those things are like, what, $5-6 a piece?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
crazy, right? So even those little things, Starbucks coffee, the donuts every morning, things like that stuff adds up to crazy dollar figures in the entire month. So people really have to get a hold of their spending based on convenience and really figure out how they can fix that type situation. Because I think that's just crazy important.
Yeah.
So we covered 5, and I think it's incredibly important. And I know we're about ending our show so far, but these are 5 of the 10 bad financial habits that you really need to break and curb to really get yourself out of debt. And debt is one of the biggest killers in today's society, as you very well know.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed those first 5.
Oh, this is great information.
Yeah.
And for those listeners that maybe they felt that. I can't wait, or I don't want to wait. They can't put off that purchase. They can't, put off that whatever. Here's the good thing is that we're not going to make you put off getting that document and a link to the article that Scott's talking about. He's going to have, an article with all 10 of these. So if you want even the next 5 before you listen to the next podcast, it's on the website. Scott, which website is it?
Duck Plan. Get your ducks in a row. duckduckplan.com. Get on that website. Hit the the podcast link and be able to get that. You can drop me an email, and I'll be happy to send that over to you and get it in your hands. Because again, planning is crucially important. Education is crucially important, and that's kind of the key. You got to learn. You got to know. In today's society, you just can't say, "Well, I didn't know." Well, guess what? That's your fault, buddy.
Yeah.
Too many ways to access the information, especially when you are a subscriber to The Scotty Show.
That's right. Good prompt.
So have an awesome day, buddy.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Scott,
you being
thank you
on.
so much. Yeah, this has been fantastic. And of course, our last thank you goes to you, listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to The Scotty Show with Scott Leonardi. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, just like Scott said, just click that subscribe now button below. This way, when Scott comes out with the next podcast, part 2 of this one, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. And this is a nice subtle hint. If you've got somebody in your life that maybe they overspend, or they think that emergency, $20 in their wallet that they use just for gas gets them a bunch of tacos instead, share this with them. They need to hear it. Again, thanks so much for listening today. For everyone at Complete Solutions, this is Eric Johnson reminding you it's time to get your ducks in a row.
Thank you for listening to The Scotty Show. Remember, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Live life like it's your job. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Complete Solutions, Inc. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice, tax advice, or legal advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.